Just pulling in.
Once Alexis knew that the assailant was no longer in the area, she climbed out of the back seat, took Tyler's phone out of his pocket, and called 911 to report she just witnessed her boyfriend and boyfriend's father being murdered.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, my boyfriend and his dad just got shot at the Fury Auto Group.
Are they on the ground?
Yes, and they're not moving.
Okay, stay on the phone. I gotta get officers en route.
Okay.
There was a police officer less than a minute away from the car dealership, so he was able to get to the scene quickly. It was too late for Richard and Tyler, however. They both lost their lives. It didn't take long for a swarm of officers and paramedics to show up at the dealership. Investigators immediately started getting the story of what happened from Alexis, who was now in complete shock. A police K-9 and his handler showed up to the dealership because Alexis couldn't be certain if the shooter walked up to Richard and Tyler and fled on foot, or if he drove away. The K-9 was able to follow the shooter's scent for a short distance in the parking lot. This told officers that the shooter had gotten into a vehicle and drove away.
I knew that my job when I got here was to get the dog out, and we were told that he left on foot, so my job was to track him. We locked onto the scent relatively quickly. The odor was still fresh. It hadn't been that long since the crime had occurred. We tracked basically from where the victims were found, and we went right past the Kia dealership. The track ended there. We assumed he got into a vehicle.
Investigators were able to get a hold of someone from the dealership who could pull the surveillance videos so they could see what happened. Once they were able to view the videos, police saw that the person that shot and killed Richard and Tyler left in a dark-colored Chevrolet HHR. However, the description of the man was the same description as the two prior attacks. It didn't take long for the police to figure out that their suspect was now driving a different car. They immediately issued another bolo, so people could keep an eye out for an HHR. Shooting Tiana and killing Richard and Tyler wasn't the end, though. Daniel was back on the road and was again driving aimlessly. He ended up in a Cracker Barrel restaurant's parking lot, about 5 miles down the road from the dealership. Daniel spotted several women getting into 2 different vehicles. 5 friends just returned from a live performance show with Chinese acrobats, and were meeting back at the Cracker Barrel to retrieve their vehicles after the show. Daniel walked up to Mary Lou Nye, who was sitting in her van in the driver's seat. Daniel didn't even hesitate. He walked right up to her window and shot her, killing her instantly. He then walked over to the vehicle next to Mary's van and shot each of the 4 people inside: Judy Brown, Barb Hawthorne, Mary Jo Nye, and Abby Koff, firing a total of 17 rounds at the Cracker Barrel.
Kimsey County 911.
I'm at the Kalamazoo Cracker Barrel, and there's been gunshots in a car.
Okay, has anybody been hit?
2 cars have been shot up.
Officers were quick to respond to the shooting at the Cracker Barrel, too. When investigators approached the vehicles, Barb immediately tried to get out of the van, but officers quickly had her stay put and said they would help her out. They didn't realize just how injured Barb was, however. Mary, Judy, Barb, and Mary Jo lost their lives that night, and Abby was severely injured. At 10:24 p.m., Daniel fired his final shot at the Cracker Barrel.
We had cell phones from all of the victims, and like we always do, we had removed them and set them on the roof of the car. And I still remember to this day, all seemed like they were ringing at the same time.
His murderous rampage wasn't stopped by a police officer until 12:38 a.m., however. Because the police now knew what vehicle they were looking for, they were able to keep a close eye out for the Chevrolet HHR.
Did you guys see him leave the scene already?
I saw it was a black HHR, dark blue HHR that flew out of here.
Officers stopped numerous black or dark-colored HHRs in an attempt to find Daniel. He was pulled over by police officers when they spotted him driving along the road. He wasn't driving recklessly or in any way that would catch a police officer's attention. Police just noticed the dark HHR and pulled him over. Daniel was arrested peacefully without any issue at all. In fact, the police were quite surprised that he didn't put up a fight. They thought for sure Daniel would start firing at them, or point his firearm at police in order to make them kill him, resulting in a suicide by cop situation. This was also when police discovered that Daniel was wearing a bulletproof vest. Daniel's shooting rampage took the lives of 6 innocent people and severely injured 2 others. There were 2 people Daniel assumed he killed, but it wasn't until he was questioned by police that he learned they survived their injuries. Barbara Hawthorne was born on February 16, 1948, in Monroe, Wisconsin. She was 68 years old and had an associate's degree in computer science and a bachelor's degree in education. She lived in Illinois and taught special education classes for 10 years. In 1984, Barb decided to move to Battle Creek, where she started working at the Kellogg's Cereal Company. She worked for the company for over 20 years before she decided to retire. Barb was described as being a free spirit, and she always wore a big smile. She loved the theater and going to live music shows. She also recycled anything and everything that came through her home. In the 1960s, she was a VISTA volunteer. VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America. She marched for her civil rights in the state of Alabama. Barb had 2 brothers and Abby, who was also in the vehicle that night. Abby was like an adopted granddaughter to Barb, even called her Grandma Barb.
I would like to talk about my aunt, Barbara Hawthorne. There are many, many wonderful stories about Aunt Barbara, but today I would like to tell the court about her love and acceptance. Aunt Barbara did not have children of her own, but she loved her nieces and nephews and all our children fiercely.
Mary Jo Nye was born on August 14, 1955, making her 60 years old on the day of her death. Mary Jo was the 6th born out of 7 children and was raised on a family farm in Barada, Michigan. She graduated from Lakeshore High School and then went on to Western Michigan University and Michigan State University, pursuing a degree in education. Early on in her career in education, Mary Jo established an adult literacy program in Southwest Michigan. She was the president of the Literary Council of Calhoun County and was also one of the founding teachers of the Calhoun Community High School, which was an alternative education high school in Battle Creek. She helped countless students obtain their high school diplomas. After her retirement, Mary Jo enjoyed spending time with friends and family, traveling, and continuing to help students with their studies. She was known as an avid quilter and baker. Mary Lou Nye was born on September 5, 1953, in Lansing, Michigan. She was 62 years old and went by Mary. Mary Jo Nye was the other Mary's sister-in-law, and they enjoyed spending time together. In the 5 years before the shooting, Mary worked at a daycare located at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Before she started working at the daycare, she worked at the Secretary of State for about 30 years, holding various positions. The Secretary of State is Michigan's equivalent to the Department of Motor Vehicles, or the DMV. She retired as Assistant Manager of Secretary of State, Benton Harbor Branch. Mary wed the love of her life, Christopher Nye, on December 20th, 1975. She served her country as a member of the United States Air Force Reserve for 10 years.
I've lost the woman I've married for 41 years. And I lost my little sister. The world has lost 2 women whose only goal in life was to take care of children. My wife worked in the daycare center and took care of little babies, nursed them, rocked them, whatever. And my sister was a teacher. She taught children who came from shaky backgrounds. Some of them had juvenile records. Some of them just came from bad families, situations, and she was their teacher and their mentor. The world is lost 2 teachers. Thank you.
Dorothy Judy Brown was born on April 11, 1941, in Battle Creek, Michigan. She was 74 years old and went by the name Judy. Judy attended Hillsdale College and graduated from Western Michigan University. Before her retirement in 2015, Judy worked as a caseworker for the Area Agency on Aging in Burnham Brook, and for Guardian Finance and Advocacy. Judy adored her 2 cats and her 2 sons. She was very close to her brother, and spent time with him almost daily. She committed herself to helping people, something she thoroughly enjoyed. Judy was a member of the Unity Church in Battle Creek, where she was secretary of the board.
My mom's death was a blow like no other. and it completely knocked the wind out of me, deflated me to the core. Nothing can prepare someone to instantly fly cross-country unexpectedly to secure their mom's house and make arrangements for her remains and other urgent matters. Those who knew her all say that she was the sweetest, most caring, gentle person one could meet. And so again, I say to know that she faced her end in this way is just unthinkable.
Richard Eugene Smith, Jr., or Rich for short, was 53 years old on the day of the shooting. Rich worked as a pipe fitter for 30 years, spending most of his career at Pfizer. In the 4 years before the shooting, Rich was working as a construction manager for Jacobs Field Services of North America. Rich was born in Kalamazoo on June 9, 1962, and graduated from Portage Central High School in 1980. After high school, he moved to Colorado and attended Denver Automotive and Diesel College. In 1981, Rich moved back to Michigan. He and his wife Lori married on May 30th, 1992. They went on to have 2 children, Tyler and Emily. Rich enjoyed riding motorcycles, especially his beloved Harley, ATVs, and dune buggies, as well as downhill skiing, snowmobiling, and jet skiing. He was a fantastic chef, known for his cheesy potatoes and his secret barbecue recipe that only he knew. Recently, Rich helped support the Girl Scouts of America by helping them learn a skill or trade. Rich's son Tyler was also a victim of Daniel's deadly massacre. Tyler was born in Kalamazoo on April 27, 1998, and at the time of his death, he was a senior at Mattawan High School. He had recently attended the Van Buren Technology Center Marketing Entrepreneurship Program. Tyler's true passion, though, was soccer. He played his entire life, starting at age 4, and reached the Premier League at the age of 14. He played goalie and forward for his high school, Mattawan High School, as well as participated in numerous different travel soccer teams. Much like his father, Tyler enjoyed going to the sand dunes and doing anything that got his adrenaline pumping. He liked to stay up late, watch movies, and play video games with his cousins. During the summer months, he played beach volleyball with his sister, cousins, and friends. Tyler was a friend to anyone, and he had a huge heart.
My brother was someone who always had your back no matter what. He wanted people to get along and to have fun. He loved to laugh, and he loved to make people laugh. My dad was someone who would give you the shirt off his back. He always knew what to say and when to say it. He had a laugh that was contagious, and he could make you laugh even if you didn't want to. My dad was caring, loving, and always tried to help people. He was a hard worker and did anything that was needed to provide for his family. He supported my brother, mom, and I in everything that we did. My dad loves cars, trucks, and everything in between. He loved watching my brother and I play sports. He loved music and listening to people harmonize. He always helped my brother and I make projects for school because he was handy and he loved making things.
There were 2 victims whose lives were spared and who later overcame their injuries. Tiana Carruthers was walking her daughter and friends to another friend's apartment when she was ambushed by Daniel. As stated before, she was shot in the left arm, right leg, left leg, and through her back, with a bullet lodging in her liver. She had to have numerous surgeries to mend her 2 broken thigh bones, a shattered upper arm bone, and damage to her liver. The bullet is still lodged in her liver today and will remain there as the surgery required to remove it was considered to be too life-threatening. Tiana was a hero that day. Not only did she sacrifice her body to shield the children she was with from the hail of bullets, but she was able to give the police an accurate description of the shooter, and even was able to identify the car he was driving. Later, Tiana was asked to identify Daniel in a lineup, which she was able to do.
2 years, 11 months, and 5 days. I've tried to hate you. I've tried to hate you. I can't seem to hate you. I've already tried numerous times. I've cried a billion tears of how my gears turn. I pause, replay, and relive every single moment. Your pain is contagious. Your rage is heinous. You spread it like a disease. My little girl, Kanaya, Dorje, Adriana, Joy, Tariana, and Selena.